Hello everyone, today is 25th of June, now it's 11:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share at least some of the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets for this moment. I'm really short on time, so I will try my best to make this video short and informative same time. And first of all, of course, breaking news for this moment, not just in Russian media, but worldwide, which is that Julian Assange, founder of the WikiLeaks, co-founder of the WikiLeaks, is free. So let's go through this news. So WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange was released from the prison in the United Kingdom. On Tuesday morning, his team has stated he spent 5 years in a Belmarsh prison in London while fighting extradition to the US, where he was indicted on 18 counts of disseminating classified information. According to newly filed court documents, Assange will soon strike a plea deal in order to avoid further time behind the bars. Julian Assange is free. He left Belmarsh maximum security prison on the morning of 24th of June after having spent 1901 days there. WikiLeaks wrote on X, formerly Twitter. He was granted bail by the High Court in London and was released at Stansted Airport during the afternoon, where he boarded the plane and departed the UK. WikiLeaks said the international campaign to free Assange has created the space for a longer period of negotiations with the US Department of Justice, leading to a deal that has not yet been formally finalized. As he returns to Australia, we thank all who study by us, fought for us, and remained utterly committed in the fight for his freedom. WikiLeaks according to letter from the DOJ, Assange will appear in a court in Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands, US territory in the Pacific, at 9 a.m. local time on Wednesday. And then, quote, we anticipate that the defendant will plead guilty to the charge of conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified information related to the national defense of the United States. The letter said that DOJ said it expects Assange to return to his home country of Australia after the proceedings. So, well, great news, by the way, that Assange is free. He spent so many years in prison unlawfully, absolutely unlawfully. He done nothing wrong. He was doing his citizen duties. He was acting as a citizen journalist. He was informing public. And that's why by many in this world, Julian Assange is perceived as a hero of modern times. And he is finally free, which is great news. Of course, congratulations, first of all, to his family that never stopped fighting for him, and of course, all the people that was in support of Julian Assange. I will continue with this also, of course, important news that according to TASS, Prime Minister of India will visit Russia with 2-day visit in the beginning of the next month, July, on 8th and the 9th of July 2024. Great news, because, of course, relationships between Moscow and New Delhi, between Russia and India, historically are very close, very friendly. Relationships are on strategical level, and I'm really glad that Prime Minister of India will visit Russia, and the ties between the two countries will become even more closer, and cooperation will further increase. Great news. RIA Novosti is reporting that President of Russian Federation once again spoke about his peace proposal, recent peace proposal, and by speaking to participants of the forum readings of the Primakov in Moscow, he said that even though Western ruling class did not spend much time to analyze Russian proposals that will really bring the long-lasting peace into Ukraine, he expects that expert community that will participate in this Primakov reading forum will go through these proposals and discuss these proposals and pay attention to it, because Putin once again reiterated that he believes this proposal that was announced by him about a week ago really can bring peace, long-lasting peace into Ukraine. And by the way, he really is committed to it, I will say. Otherwise, if it was just some political chess move or geopolitical chess move, I mean, he will not return to this topic, I guess, but he clearly seems committed to this proposal. And if Western ruling class will realize that, if they really want to end the hostility, then they will accept Russian proposals. They will order their puppets in Kiev to accept Russian peace proposal. Extremely generous, I will say, peace proposal. RBK News Agency is reporting that aides of the Trump, by the way, shared information about Trump's peace initiatives, how he plans to end this conflict. I translated, by the way. Where is the news? Okay, I will translate again. I read it in Russian, some fragments of it, and it don't really seems to me like a workable idea, but let's go through it. So, two key advisors of the Donald Trump, chief of staff at the National Security Council during his presidency in 2017-2021, retired Lieutenant General Kate Kellogg and Fred Fletz, president presented a plan to resolve the conflict in Ukraine in the event of the former US president winning the presidential elections in November. The initiative assumes that Turkey will receive more weapons only if peace negotiations begin. At the same time, Washington will warn Moscow to increase support for Kiev in the event of any refusal to negotiate. Kellogg told the Reuters, according to a plan during the peace negotiations, a ceasefire would be reached based on the prevailing front lines, based on current front lines. It seems like, well, this is non-starter, by the way. First of all, I don't think US in a position to dictate to Russia anything at all. Let's begin there, and then this is more looks like freezing of the conflict. I did not see any real roadmap that will ensure long-lasting peace, and therefore I don't know. This is there was big noise around Trump's ambitious plans to resolve Ukrainian conflict. But if this is the two key points that they are willing to start this process, then it will not work. Okay, let's continue. And meanwhile, by the way, we have information, according to Interfax, that US on Tuesday, today, by the way, US today will announce another military aid package to Kiev regime. This time, this military aid package will be worth of $150 million US dollars. Well, at least former President Trump's inner circle is talking about resolutions to the conflict while Biden's administration is not even willing to talk about it. They are just escalating day in, day out. TASS news agency is reporting that Russian Foreign Ministry has no doubts that US was involved in terrorist attack in Sevastopol that took place 2 days ago, when more than 100 civilians were wounded, including up to 30 children, and also civilians were killed, including children. US ambassador was summoned. US ambassador was summoned yesterday, and I guess Moscow notified US diplomat about Russia's understanding of the situation, and I guess note of protest was given to ambassador. I don't think these notes and warnings or signals will do anything or will influence anyhow by this administration's policies, but RT's report that Podolyak, by the way, this representative of Zelensky, Mikhail Podolyak, commented on this terrorist attack, and he said basically that there were no civilians in Crimea. He clearly, degenerate, absolute degenerate. Let's go through this news. The 4 Russian civilians killed by Ukrainian cluster munition attack, and that was US attack, by the way, not just Ukrainian, but Ukrainian and US terrorist attack on Crimea that killed 4 civilians and wounded more than 150. So the 4 Russian civilians killed by this terrorist attack on Crimean beach were occupiers. Those civilians were occupiers. That's what Podolyak is saying, as are the residents of the region at large, and as such, their deaths are justifiable. Vladimir Zelensky's top aide Mikhail Podolyak declared on Monday, by the way. That's people that we are dealing with in the regime. Absolutely despicable degenerates, by the way. These people should be neutralized by all means necessary, 100%. And by the way, even in Ukraine, some people get really upset about this type of statements that killed civilians, including children, are occupiers, according to Podolyak and Kyiv regime, and they are not civilians in Crimea. Therefore, killing of everybody is justified, according to Podolyak, Zelensky, and all the other garbage in the Kyiv regime. And by the way, as I said, even in Ukraine, people get upset about these crazy statements of the Podolyak. And look, one of the journalists, by the way, Diana Panchenko, rated as a response to Podolyak's statement, and I will read it for you. Misha, give up. Everything you do makes the situation worse. You personally told me that if Russia uses nuclear weapons on Ukraine, 60,000 people will die. Excuse me, but it's not a big deal. You want the blood of Ukrainians. What did they do to you? So even Ukrainians are upset, by the way, with this bloodthirsty attitude, fascist basically attitude of the Kyiv regime, when they just really don't care about lives of the people. Ukrainians, non-Ukrainians, they are just, psychopaths, by the way. And killing of the people it's nothing for them. And well, if in Western states there were decent people in charge, they would never ever shake a hand with this person, Podolyak. But I don't think they will even pay attention to his statements that 4 Russian civilians killed by Ukrainian cluster munition attack on Crimean beach were occupiers, according to Podolyak, and death of those people, including children, was justified, according to him. This is crazy, by the way. This is sickening. This is clearly sickening. These people should end up in jail forever, for life, for all the crimes that they committed. And by the way, we also have information from Vzglyad newspaper that 14 wounded civilians will be transferred to Moscow from Sevastopol to undergo additional medical treatment in Moscow's medical facilities. And by the way, Kremlin reacted on this terrorist attack on Crimea, and the press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, said that Kremlin is warned the US that there will be consequences for this terrorist attack on Sevastopol. I don't know what kind of warning was given to US. I don't know if there will be retaliation. What kind of retaliation? Hard to tell, obviously, at this point. But as I said, the ambassador of US was summoned. Kremlin is saying that warning was given, and well, I guess time will tell what to expect next. Also interesting news, by the way, that the so-called president of Ukraine, illegitimate so-called president of Ukraine, Zelensky, stated that he dismissed commander of the joint forces of the Ukraine's armed forces, Yuri Sodol, from his position, and this person was appointed on this position in February 2024. So I guess this information can be seen as an additional indicator that there is some internal confrontation in the Kyiv regime, and well, militaries clearly are not happy with Zelensky and his associates, and I understand why. They know attitude of the Zelensky and his associates. They don't care about lives of militaries at all. They don't care about lives of anybody, with the exception of their own lives. And after all, of course, Zaluzhny has a huge number of supporters in Ukrainian armed forces. And after Zaluzhny was dismissed, and because of the conflict between Zelensky and Zaluzhny, of course, significant number of high-ranking officers, and I guess low-level, middle and low-level officers also are in support of Zaluzhny, who will most likely replace Zelensky one way or another, but in a relatively short time. So this information clearly can be seen as additional indicator of this confrontation. That's the person, by the way, that was fired. Let's continue. TASS news agencies report that according to Macron, France will not fight in Ukraine anytime soon. Okay, Macron. With this person, by the way, with the modern president of France, I mean, you never know. Today he may say that France has no plans to send its troops to Ukraine. Tomorrow he may come out and say that, well, France is planning to send troops into Ukraine. Day after, he may say that France already sent troops in Ukraine. And in 24 hours, he may say that, yes, no, that's not true. France never sent any troops to anywhere. So, I mean, you just never know. Because formally he is the president of France, of course, media pays attention to his statements, but at this point, no one takes them seriously, I guess. Interfax is reporting that according to Tzahal, IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, they managed to almost completely destroy Hamas forces in Rafah, and the operation is close to its end. Well, city itself is erased basically from the ground almost as a result of this military operation. So many civilians were killed. That's what world sees, by the way. That's what world sees. I don't know about clashes between Hamas and Tzahal, but I definitely see city being effectively erased from the face of the earth. That's what I see. Artists report that Israel accuses close ally of withholding weapon supplies. The US has significantly scaled down deliveries of the weapons to Israel aimed at the war in Gaza, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday, speaking at the weekly cabinet meeting, Netanyahu alleged that there had been a dramatic drop in US weapons supplies. The Jewish state has decided to go public with the issue after behind the scenes efforts failed to change the situation, he added. Well, maybe, by the way, maybe this is some kind of deception operation conducted by Netanyahu's government and Biden's administration because, first of all, because of the domestic situation in the US. Of course, presidential elections in US will be held in a few months' time, and that's the main topic there. And actions of the Israel or White House's support to the almost all the actions that Israel conducted, divided public, divided first of all supporters of the Democrats in US because people don't want the US to be involved in a mass murdering of the civilians, unintentional mass killings of the civilians. I can understand why US citizens don't want their country to be part of it. But when it comes to weapon supplies, by the way, this is all lies. I guess there are some agreement between Netanyahu and White House to highlight this topic, to push this narrative in the media, which will, of course, put some positive light in US, by the way, on Biden and his administration. And the Democrats that are upset with the White House will say, will be told now that, I mean, you see, Biden is not supplying weapons to Israel to kill civilians, at least no more. So you can vote now for him or for whomever final candidate will be in presidential elections, because with Biden you never know. I mean, he may don't wake up tomorrow. Who knows? So yes, this is all deception, by the way. I don't believe in for a second that US stopped any weapon deliveries to Israel. None. RT is reporting that and by the way, when it comes to possible agreements between Israel and Israeli and US governments, I remind you that Netanyahu and his associates quite strongly making quite strong statements in regards to Lebanon, and they're basically announcing military operation against Lebanon, Lebanese Hezbollah, and maybe agreement between Netanyahu's government and Biden's government includes possible US and NATO involvement in this war, in this possible war against Hezbollah that Israel may start at any time. Maybe that's the case also. Artists report here that EU slaps first sanctions on Russian LNG. EU imposed 14th sanctions package on Russia, and LNG is a big part in this. European Council has adopted 14th round of economic and individual sanctions against Russia over the Ukraine conflict. The bloc's executive body announced in a press conference, in press release on Monday. The measures target high-value sectors of the Russian economy, such as energy, finance, and trade. The statement said the bloc also seeks to prevent Moscow and its trade partners from bypassing EU sanctions. The Council added the EU has for the first time targeted liquefied natural gas of Russian origin, reloading operations, ship-to-ship transfers and ship-to-shore transfers with the purpose of re-exporting to third countries where the European Union have been banned. So EU will continue to receive, to buy Russian LNG, but they will prohibit European countries basically to re-export then Russian LNG. So they are sanctioning themselves, really. They are members in EU. The restrictions do not, excuse me, do not affect imports of the Russian LNG for use within the bloc, as I just said. Statement added. Okay, by the way, Brussels is shooting its feet once again. No surprises there, no surprises. Of course, this 14th sanctions package may create some shorter term issues for Russia, but all those issues will be overcome and bypassed by Russian Federation. I have no doubts about it, as it was the case in regards to 13 previous sanctions packages. EU reveals timeline for tapping Russian assets. So EU will receive the first tranche of the revenues generated by Russia's frozen central bank assets within a few days. The bloc's top diplomat Joseph Borrell has said the funds will later be sent to Ukraine. So it's official, by the way, now. Transaction may not yet happen, but it is official that EU is starting to steal Russian assets, and they plan to steal at least 2.5 billion euros from the Russian profits on that frozen assets. And it's only a matter of time, and they will start stealing those frozen assets themselves also. I mean, what else you gonna expect from these degenerates, man, that are in leadership, political leadership of European states or Brussels, European Union? And well, among in this 14th package, sanctions package, there is a sanctions against the Russian analog of the SWIFT, SPFS. More than 20 countries are part of this Russian analog of the SWIFT, which allows some transactions to take place between the financial institutions, so not just Russia, but other countries also. Majority of these countries are friendly countries to Russia, and therefore, of course, sanctioning the Russian analog of the SWIFT may create some short time issues. There may be some decline in transactions, but eventually, more and more countries will even join this Russian SWIFT, because they will have no choice, really. They will have no choice, because Western financial and banking system, if you are dependent just on Western financial and banking system, then you are doomed to fail, really. And after all, Russian goods and services are in high demand worldwide. And one way or another, but companies, partners of the Russian businesses will find the ways to pay for it. How? That's a whole another question. It might be through Russian SWIFT, it might be through some other means. After all, gold is for our currency, so they may pay with gold, and that's why not? So yes, EU is desperate, by the way. EU's leadership, Western ruling class in general, is desperate. They want to harm Russia as much as they can, but they are unable to do so, and therefore they're getting crazy, by the way. And they already started to talk about 15th sanction package. They just imposed 14th, and they already are talking about 15th. Okay. This is it, dear friends. Quite short update. Hopefully you will find it somewhat informative and interesting, useful, maybe. And if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything. And if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on the internet, on the platforms that you are actively using. That will be very helpful, of course. And if you like my work, if you like my channels and want to support, you can do it with donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day, and take care. I'm working, dear friends, on something, and if everything works out, you're gonna like it. I have some surprise, good, interesting surprise for you. But I cannot tell what exactly for now. Have a great day and take care.